You are listening to American Medicine Today, presented by the Bonati Spine Institute. I'm Kimberly Bermel, joined by world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. Alfred Bonati. We have our senior fellow Jeff Wagstaff here and Ethan Euchre, and on the line, we are so excited to be talking to Dr. Ben Carson, Washington Times columnist and Fox News contributor, former member of the President's Council of Bioethics. Welcome to our program.
Thank you very much.
You have no idea how excited we are to have you here. I know you have a new book out, One Nation, and it offers a powerful cure to get America back on track. Why don't you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, the reason that I wrote that book is because I want people to recognize that we, the American people, are not each other's enemies. Mm-hmm. The real enemies are those who are trying to divide us up, driving wedges into any little crack they can find, to create, a war on women, age wars, race wars, income wars, just divide and conquer, all of which is straight out of the manual, Rules for Radicals by Saul Alinsky, things that need to be done to radically change a society from the kind of society we have to the, quote, utopian, unquote, society in which government is responsible for everything and controls everything. The only problem, of course, for those who are readers, you know that every time that transition has occurred, you get the same scenario. A small group of elitists who control everything and live very luxurious lives, a rapidly shrinking middle class, and an ever-expanding dependent class. There's no exception to that rule. And it's not what America was designed to be. We were designed to be something completely different than that. And, I'm trying to get people to understand that the only way we can keep the freedoms that made us into such an exceptional nation is if we all recognize that we have a responsibility and we have to get into the fight. We can't just go along to get along, because that is what happened in Nazi Germany. People,
correct.
I don't believe in what Hitler's doing, but I better not say anything. The Gestapo is going to come and get me.
Right.
We're like that now. We're
Yes.
so afraid to express ourselves or to do anything.
Yes.
And, I just did something that you're not supposed to do. I mentioned the word Nazi. The PC police, they'll be all over you. I said it once in a speech, and they said, Carson says that America is the same as Nazi Germany, which, of course, is not what you're saying at all, but
Correct.
They like to take any word and distort it and try to change it around and try to manipulate people. But it only works with low information people.
Yes.
And that's why I encourage people to learn, to read for yourself, not only about American history, read about what neo-Nazis have said about America and understand what we're fighting.
I was researching a little bit more about you, and people try to classify you sometimes as quote-unquote Republican, and you kind of shy away from that. You say, if I were associated with one party, it would be called the Logic Party, and it would be dedicated to common sense approaches that all should be able to see. And I agree wholeheartedly with that. Now, it's true. There's not enough common sense in this administration. And I agree with you. I think you so elegantly state what is happening currently in America. And I think it's about time people speak up. And I feel horribly that people are persecuted if they're not politically correct, like you say, like they have a muzzle on them, and it shouldn't be that way.
Well, it's particularly the case now. I mean, it's been highlighted by several examples at universities recently.
Yes.
Where, people who don't believe what whoever believes there shouldn't speak. Now, it used to be a time when if you didn't agree with somebody, you would just boycott them. Now, we've reached a point where people say, I don't want to hear it, but I don't want anybody else to hear it either. And if you have a business, I want to destroy it. And if I can destroy your character, I want to do that. When did we get like that?
Correct. It is not a racial thing. I don't like the racial divide, and I know you've spoken about that time and again. And I think it's a detriment to America to be doing that. I listened to some some speeches of yours on YouTube, and you were so poignant when you talked about being a neurosurgeon and how when you lift away the layers, the inner workings are what make a person, and that's the brain. It has zero to do with skin color.
Exactly. And that's very superficial thinking.
Yes.
And it does irritate me to an extent. You can't tell that I'm irritated, but I am. When people come along and they assume that if you're black, you have to think a certain way.
Correct.
And if you don't think that way, you're crazy or something has happened to you. You know, what a bunch of garbage.
It is.
Every individual that God made, he gave a brain, which means they have the ability to think for themselves. They have the ability to look at facts, to understand history, and to utilize that to create a better way.
Dr. Carson, a great American, Mark Twain, once said, common sense ain't so common. And we're certainly seeing that in Washington today. Question, is you see people try to put those wedges and divide us, from your perspective, what do you see might be an answer to unite us?
The solution is for individual Americans, and I do mention at the end of each chapter in the book One Nation what individuals can do. But bottom line is we have to begin to talk, fully recognizing that, you know, Saul Alinsky, the guru of the neo-Marxists, said never have a conversation with your adversary. And why did he say that? Because he knew that that humanizes them, and your job is to demonize them. And so we have to start talking, like they did in pre-revolutionary America. You know, there were the loyalists and there were the patriots, and sometimes they didn't see eye to eye. But the patriots were very disturbed with King George III and all his decrees and ruling of their lives. So they started getting together in the community, talking to everybody, including the loyalists, about what kind of America do you want to have? What are you willing to fight for? What do you want to pass on to your children? They encouraged each other. They derived strength from each other. Through that, a bunch of ragtag militiamen were able to defeat the most powerful empire on earth. We can do the same thing, but we have to begin to talk.
You're listening to American Medicine Today on News Radio 970 WFLA with Dr. Ben Carson. We'd like to tell our audience that Dr. Carson is going to be in Tampa tonight signing copies of his new book, One Nation, from 7:30 to 8:30 at Inkwood. It's at 216 South Armenia Avenue here in Tampa. So we'd like to invite the audience to stop down. From the look on Kimberly Bermel's face, I think she'll be first in line when you're there tonight, Doctor.
That's actually on May the 31st.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
And I did want to bring something up, and then I know Dr. Bonatti has a couple questions for you, but there was a quote, and if you don't mind me asking, they had asked you about the Affordable Care Act.
Yes.
And it was quoted as saying the worst thing that has happened in this nation since slavery.
Yes.
And I realize some people get their backs up about that, but I think they are making them slaves to the system. What are your thoughts on that?
And, you know, but that's a typical trick of the left, is to seize upon a word. He used that word, and, you know, because they don't really want to talk about what I'm really talking about, because they know it's true.
Correct.
That turning over to the government the most important thing you have, your health care, makes you dependent. And that fundamentally changes the power structure in our nation. They don't want to actually get into those issues. So they say, oh, he says it's the same as slavery. You know, this is just... And I explain that quite extensively in the book, the kinds of tricks that are used to keep people at each other's throats, so they don't actually think about the real problem and how to solve it.
What I see is a lot of lip service, unfortunately, in the current administration, and I think it's about taking action and the correct steps to unify everyone. I think Obama had the chance of a lifetime to unify the parties, or to the races and the United States. And what I hear from you is so heartfelt, and I really do believe, I don't know if you've said whether or not you're definitely definitely going to run for president. I know you've been quoted saying if God felt that you should, then you would do that. And I really believe wholeheartedly that you'd be one to unify the races. And for that, I'm thankful.
It's not something that any sane person would want to do, to be honest with you. But I am listening. I obviously see a lot of people every place I go who think that I should. If somebody comes along who really understands the Constitution, understands freedom and responsibility and how to get people to rise in our society, understands how to develop our energy resources, our financial resources, knows how to reformulate the tax structure in a fair way, I would get behind that person. But if they don't come, certainly I would have to give it consideration.
Can I ask you one more quick question? We have Dr. Bonatti on the show, and he promotes those same conservative viewpoints. I just wanted to ask you, do you think it's important that surgeons and physicians speak up about the government getting involved in healthcare?
Absolutely. And we tend as physicians to be quiet people. We've learned that. We've learned to put our own concerns on the back burner and put others on the front burner. But the fact of the matter is, if we don't stand up now for the rights of patients and make it very clear that we are not behind a system that takes the most important things and puts it in the government's hands and come up with our own solutions, and I suggest people go to AmericanLegacyPact.org and look at some really, really good solutions, because we're going to be rolling those things out over the next several weeks. But we have to be the ones who come up with the solutions, not a bunch of bureaucrats.
I agree with you, Dr. Ben Carson, and thank you so much for being on the program. We would love to have you on the TV program as well. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts and views.
Great work.
Take great care. You are listening to News Radio 970 WFLA, and
we'll be right back after the break.
Revolutionary in his field, Dr. Bonatti created, perfected, and patented the Bonatti spine procedures. Using his genius, Bonatti invented precise tools necessary to minimize surgery, scarring, anesthesia, and recovery. So successful are the Bonatti spine procedures, they consistently reflect over 94% patient satisfaction. 45,000 successful procedures have been performed exclusively at our location. Nearly half our patients suffer from failed back and neck surgeries at other facilities. Bonatti succeeds where others fail. The Bonatti Spine Institute is proud to announce more than a 94% patient-reported success rate in over 45,000 patent-protected spine surgical procedures. Call us today at 855-267-0483 or visit us at bonatti.com.
All my pain is gone. Today I am totally pain-free. Nothing. No after effect.
I'm pain-free, and I have had to take any pain medication.
Today I am pain-free for the first time in over a year, and it is so awesome.
I only wish I'd known about it earlier. Right now, I am completely without pain.
Sitting here in this office right now, pain-free, eager to enjoy the rest of my life.
I am feeling great.
I feel 100% better, like a new person.
Today I feel absolutely fantastic. It's just incredible, the relief I feel right now.
Today I'm completely pain-free.
During the procedure, I literally felt the pain melt away. It was fantastic.
I feel so good.
It took care of my headaches instantly.
It's incredible. It's really incredible.
It gave me my life back.
It's just wonderful.
I feel fantastic.
It is just absolutely amazing.
So I'm hoping to be climbing hills in a few weeks.